Okay, guys, I think I've got this recording. Again, good job this past week, guys. That was a really good first week of training. As we've talked about several times, we're introducing a new idea to you guys called the RPE. And again, I want to be respectful of your time. So I didn't necessarily want to go over some of the more detailed nuances of RPE and how we're going to use it during workouts. Again, it's something that we'll get into some more advanced ideas as the semester goes. We're going to start with some simple concepts that already fit into some of the workouts that I'm going to do with you guys. But I decided to finally put together this little video that's going to teach you about RPE. I'm going to teach you how we're going to use it to give you a really strong introduction to it. And again, with workouts, I will start making you guys individual sheets very soon. So it's going to be easy for you to write things down and follow along. And again, I'm always going to be there to coach you guys and help you through this. But this is something that I think as a program is going to really help us. And you will see why as we go through this. So the RPE stands for Rating of Perceived Exertion. And it's a method to rate your performance of a given activity in the context it's performed. So how you are performing that day. It's not how you should be performing, how you expect to perform, how you want to perform. It's about how you are performing that day with the workout, the set, the rep that I'm giving you, okay? Not to give you too much history and get bogged down with that, but originally this was actually for aerobic exercise, and it was created by a scientist, researcher named Gunnar Borg, who actually had a very weird scale that was a 6 out of 10, or sorry, 6 out of 20 was his scale. About 12 years ago, a coach named Mike Toucher, who is actually a world champion powerlifter and is a powerlifting coach, started using a more 5 to 10 scale. And now this is very widely utilized and accepted in the powerlifting community. So even people that are not coached by Mike Toucher, don't work with Mike Toucher, also use the RPE scale. It also can be used with any strength training athlete. One of my mentors currently uses it with his Division I football team that he trains and has also found it to be very helpful and effective. So the number one reason why we're using it, some of you may be a little bit confused about RPEs, seems pretty complicated, it seems like a lot of work, but what I want you guys to understand is the number one reason that we're going to use the RPE is it's going to help us put the right weight on the bar and lift it the correct amount of times. It's going to complement the percentages that we use. So I'm never going to hang you out to dry and only give you an RPE. With some exceptions, there's some people that I'm only using RPE for, but they've already been doing a really good job and it seems like they're understanding it very well. Taryn is an example of that. So, but for most of you, we will still have percentages to help guide you with picking weights. So when in doubt, you just follow the percentages and you'll be okay. But again, what the RPE is going to allow us to do is to make sure that we get the right weight on the bar, and that's going to either help us overload, give us an overload effect. So it's going to allow us to add weight to the bar and push on the days that we feel good. So if I give you a percentage that's too light, you're going to be able to add weight to the bar and get the right weight on the bar that day. Also, on the flip side, it's going to be really important for fatigue management. So if there's a day you're not feeling good, it's going to help you decide how and how much weight to take off of the bar so we're hitting the correct intensities. And here's the thing, this is so important for advanced athletes with high force outputs. And it's a big change I've noticed with you guys versus any other throwers I've worked with. So other places I've been, the throwers were more of a walk-on type. There wasn't a lot of scholarship put in throwers. And so, you know, the first place I had, you know, throwers weren't even making the conference roster. The second place I worked at South Dakota State, the throwers would make the conference roster, but every once in a while we might get lucky and send 1 or 2 kids to regionals. But this is a program where we have national level people that really put out a lot of force. And what I found is if I continue to just hammer you guys into the ground day in and day out, we tend to have some issues with fatigue, maybe these little nicks and dings and injuries. So this is going to help us find the right balance of pushing you guys on the days we can push, backing off on the days we need to back off, and hopefully helping you guys stay a little healthier, but also get you stronger at the same time. So we're going to use this. When are we going to use it? Primarily with our main barbell strength movements. So that's the squat, deadlift variations, press variations, so the bench press, the overhead press, push press. We will also use it for accessory movements. There's not a lot of, again, accessory movements are just there to provide balance to the body, maybe a little extra hypertrophy, also maybe working some neglected muscles. So we will use it there for guidance, but that's not as, I'm not going to be as harping on that as much as maybe some of the strength movements as we're discussing this today, but we will still use it. One thing we definitely will not use it for is the Olympic lifts. It does not work for Olympic lifts. So again, this is for more controlled strength training type exercises, okay? Now, how we're gonna use it. Again, for the accessories, it's just gonna help guide your weight selection. Generally with accessories, I'm gonna program those as an RPE 6 to 8. And it's just to let you know how difficult the weight should be that day. How hard should you be working that day? What is the target there? So if we're doing an exercise and the RPE target is a 7, and you're grabbing a weight that honestly you could have done for 10 more reps, that's not it. And so this is gonna help you realize, okay, whoa, I feel like I can do way more than 3 reps. I need to up my weight for the next set for an accessory exercise. When we're using it for the main barbell exercises, I'm still going to use percentages like I talked about for programming, but I'm also going to give you guys a target RPE that then when you're performing that first set at a given percentage, it's going to help you decide whether you need to adjust it up or down that day based on how you're feeling and how you're performing. It's also going to help me adjust your training maxes. So, unfortunately, we may not be able to max out on some stuff. We may be wary of testing some exercises this year because of the rules with COVID-19. But I'll tell you right now, if you're able to consistently just crush a high percentage lift and you're rating it at a lower RPE than I expect, we'll bump your max up. And that's, again, it's going to be very helpful since we're limited in some ways. And it's not just me pulling numbers out of my butt. This is a well-established system. So as you can see here at the top, we have number of repetitions, and then we have the RPEs. And these are the expected percentages that you should hit at those rep and RPE relationships. So for example, if I give you a 90% of your max type lift, if we're doing 1 rep, that's about an RPE 7.5, if you can follow my cursor here. But if we put 90% on the bar and you're smoking it and you're telling me, hey, this feels like RPE 6, coach, I know we can probably bump your max up about 5%, okay? Again, there's a bit of a relationship there with the reps we're doing, with the target RPE, and what percentage we should be lifting there. And so again, there's some relationships that I can utilize and tap into to help adjust your training maxes over the course of the semester. Now, here's the challenge with the RPE. A lot of you guys are used to a coach printing off a sheet of paper with percentages and telling you, hey, let's go hard. Now, with the RPE, this is going to require a few things of you guys. And I think most of you are going to be able to handle this because of who your coach is. So when you're lifting and we're using an RPE system, you need to pay attention and be mindful of what you're doing and how you're performing that day. You can't just turn your head off and lift the weight. Okay, you need to be thinking about how it's feeling, how it's moving. You need to be engaged with what you're doing. And that's very similar to working with Coach Bedard in the ring. He expects you to do some self-diagnosis with your technique. I know one of his favorite questions is, how did that feel? What do you think? And he's going to help you, but he's not just going to spoon feed you. And this is a very similar situation to that. You need to learn to self-diagnose and adjust your training over time. Now, again, very early on, I need you to ask questions if you don't understand. I'm going to help you a lot, and I'm going to guide this, but eventually the goal is for you to kind of use this on your own with minimal guidance, because I'm going to give you the tools to, again, adjust the training based on what you're hitting in terms of an RPE. And the other challenge with this is we need to kind of be honest with ourselves and how we're performing that day. So I know for some of us, we really want to always put as much weight on the bar as we can, but if you hit an exercise and it feels like an RPE 9 and the target that day is a 7, we got to be mature and honest and disciplined, and we got to take weight off the bar, and vice versa. We do have a few people in our squad, and I'm not going to name names. We have some people in our squad that generally sometimes don't like to push as much and maybe want to camp out at lower RPEs. Now, again, you have to be honest. If you're hitting a lower RPE than the target, then we have to add weight to the bar, and I'm going to teach you how to do that in this video. Okay, finishing up here, this goes very similar to the last point. You got to hold yourself accountable, okay? Just made this point. If you're not hitting the target RPE, we got to adjust it. Okay. We got to go up or down depending on what situation we're in. And here's my thing, guys. If you know what the target RPE is, if you see a teammate sandbagging, or vice versa, you see a teammate really just blowing everything, way higher than it should be, hold each other accountable. Okay. Gently or not so gently remind them of the intensity we should be working at. And again, this is something that this is new for Coach Bedard as well. So I'm sure he'll learn this system and he'll probably be doing that as well. Again, this is something that I think can really, really benefit our program. So I think I want you guys to take this seriously. And this is something I want us to all value as a group. And you know what, when in doubt, guys, follow the assigned percentages that day. The goal is still to try to put more weight on the bar week to week, session to session. So if you occasionally overshoot, that's fine. If you're overshooting an RP, I would rather that than somebody constantly undershooting and sandbagging every workout. So at the end of the day, the goal is still to get stronger. And to get stronger, we have to put more weight on the bar. This just provides a little bit of guidance as to how much and when. And like I said before, ask me for help. If you want me to come watch your set, if it's a day when I'm not requiring to sign you out and watch the set, I will still watch you, okay? And here's the thing, some of you have already really taken to this. Some of you, really understand this, and I think it's gonna really help you with your training. Some of you may need a little bit more time and mentoring, and we'll talk through things. And again, this is something for you freshmen or sophomores. This is something that really, you're gonna get better year to year. And by the time you're seniors, you're gonna have this down pat. Now, more of you upperclassmen and you seniors, it's still gonna help you guys. Don't overthink it, but we may not have it perfect right away, and it'll take a little bit of time to get used to it, and that's fine. So just wanted to quickly review the chart here, okay? I kind of have three categories for the RPs. We have our low, mid, and high RPEs. So for our low, which is where we're working right now, that's a 5 to 6.5. Again, that's that's light stuff. Usually that's early intro, which is what we're doing right now, deload weeks, some accessory work, especially small muscle accessory work, stuff for the upper back, stuff where I don't want the form to break down. We'll keep that to lower RPs. That's stuff that's pretty easy to recover from, doesn't get a lot of soreness and neuromuscular fatigue from work of that nature. We have our middle RPE, moderate to heavy type work. The majority of our strength work will happen here. That's kind of your base place where you're going to spend most of your time when we're squatting, benching, deadlifting, etc. It's still something that we don't need to get super hyped up for. You should be able to hit it with a calm demeanor. We'll still do some accessory work here. And this is about an average workout. You maybe feel tired the next day, but it's not like you're going to need a whole week or over 72 hours to recover from it. And then we still will get into higher RPEs. We may not be able to do it for every exercise, but again, the ones where I'm not as concerned about spotting, like a deadlift, we should be able to get into these higher RPEs. And again, this is something where it's heavy, going all the way up to an absolute max or a test set. I'm not going to program a lot of accessories here, though I told some of you guys doing chin-ups, hey, push it to the high RPE. Try to go all the way until you can't do another rep. So the chin-up would be an exception. Again, the timing of this, we're going to do this in later cycles, the final week of a cycle before deload, and again, some type of test day. This is the type of stuff where you need to get hyped up. We're cranking music. You guys are cheering each other on. We're screaming for each other. If that's happening, that means we're probably in high RPE type workouts. And again, it's going to be pretty taxing on your recovery. It's going to take you more than a few days to recover from this. You will definitely feel these workouts. So having gone through all of that, we're actually going to talk about using the RPE, how we're going to use it to adjust training, and some examples of workouts, okay? So adjusting the RPE is actually going to be much easier than you're thinking, okay? Usually when we're going up or down in RPE, it's a matter of going up or down 5% from what's already on the bar, okay? And so typically for female athletes, based on their max, based on what we typically see in bench presses and overhead presses, that's about 5 to 10 pounds per RPE. Again, for guys, depending on how much you lift, we're more in that 10 to 20 range. And again, for the lower body, 10 to 15 pounds per RPE for women, 15 to 25 for men. Again, it depends on your strength levels. If you're a 500-pound squatter as a male, again, that's where we're using this 25-pound per RPE. If we're more in those mid to low 300s, that's where that 15-pound comes in. So it still does depend on your strength level, not just your gender. And again, it's very simple. Let's say we're doing a workout and you're supposed to be at an 8 RPE and it feels like a 7. That's where we're taking that 5% jump, okay? So let's say you did 300 pounds, it felt like a 7, and we're trying to get to an RPE 8. 5% of 300 is 315. You hit it, we're at an RPE 8, we're good to go. Now, we may undershoot or overshoot much larger than that, and that's when we're taking those bigger jumps. So if our target's an RPE 9 and we hit 300 and it feels like a 7, then we're probably taking that 30-pound jump. That's about 10%, okay? So that's just a little primer as we start to go into the actual examples from workouts, okay? And I'm gonna walk you through these scenarios one at a time. So the first type of workout, we're gonna do this one a lot because it's the simplest to follow. These are called repeats, which is a typical volume-based workout. We've all done repeats, you just don't know it, and I'll talk you through this. So I'll give you an example. This is probably what we're going to be doing next Tuesday for our squat workout, okay? We're gonna front squat. You've got 2 sets to warm up. Again, I'm being more flexible on repetitions, 5 to 10 reps. And the workout is we're gonna do 3 sets of 10 at 50 to 52% of our back squat max. And the target is an RPE 6. Remember, RPE 6 means not heavy enough to be a true work set. That's how we define that, okay? I'm gonna use my back squat max. So for me, my first work set of that 3x10, I'll start with 215 to 225. So in this case, I'm gonna use 225 because it's a nice rounder number in my head. So I'll always warm up. When I warm up, I'll typically do a higher rep and then a lower rep just to make sure I'm not overtaxing my legs. So in this example, it's 315 for the first set, 185 for the second set. And that's the same for all 3 scenarios, okay? So I'm gonna do scenario number 1. This is like the perfect world type workout. I do my 225, I hit it for 10 reps. Again, I wanna go look at my chart that I'm gonna post at your rack, okay? I go and look at it, I look at the definitions, kind of refresh my memory, and I decide, yeah, that felt like an RPE 6. It was light, but not heavy enough to be considered a true work set. That's easy. Since the RPE target is a 6, I just have to stay there, okay? So I'll keep repeating that weight for set 2 and 3, okay? Now, scenario number 2 is if we undershoot the weight, and this may happen as we get stronger. Especially, this will happen for people that did a lot of lifting this summer and are they're way stronger and their maxes are higher than what I have them at right now. So after my 2 warm-ups, my 225 for 10, I do it, I think about it, that actually felt very light. That still felt like a warm-up weight. So now, again, since we're moving up 1 RPE, 1 full RPE, we're gonna add 5%. So that's really easy. For about 200 pounds, and we can round up or down as we need to, that's about a 10-pound increase. And you don't have to be exact with this. If you wanted to go up 15, that would be fine too. But again, about 10 to 15 pounds. So for me, I'm gonna go to 235. I'll hit that set. Now it feels like an RPE 6, so we're right where we need to be. So I'll finish with that as well. And again, no matter what, we're only doing 3 work sets. So we'll never increase the sets. We are just going to use this system to adjust the weights within our workout to try to hit our target difficulty, which in this case, again, is an RPE 6. So reviewing scenario number 2, we undershot our RPE in work set number 1. So I'm going to add 5%. Set 2 felt like the target. So now I'm going to repeat that for set 3. Okay. Scenario number 3 is sort of a classic overshoot. Oh, skipped ahead. That's a classic overshoot. And this will happen too, okay? Especially if we have somebody, well, you know, I want to hit 225 because that's a cooler number. I'd rather put 2 45-pound plates on the bar, so that's what I want to do today, okay? Or you may just have a very specific goal in mind, like, man, I really want to hit this for 10 today. That's a nice number to me, okay? So this is an overshoot situation. So again, I do my warm-ups, my first set at 225. Again, I review, and this is where I got to be really honest. I got to be mature. I got to be disciplined. And I realize that feels like an RPE 7. Remember, what an RPE 7 is I definitely could have done 3 more reps, but it feels like a work set. And I probably couldn't have done more than 3. I definitely had 3, but I couldn't have done more than 3. okay? Now, since I have to drop an RPE point, we're going to reduce the weight by 5%. So again, I'm going to take 10 pounds off the bar. So that means I'm going to finish out my workout with 215, okay? So to review, you overshoot by 1 RPE on your first set, you reduce by 5%, set 2 felt like the target, we keep going. Now, there is a scenario where you do 225, feels too high. You drop it, it still feels too high, so then you just have to drop again to 205. And vice versa for scenario number 2. You hit 225, feels too easy. You add, you hit it again, it feels too easy. I may have hit 245 here. So that's just another little layer to it. But for the purpose of this today, I think this is good enough. These situations will come up while we're training, and I'm still going to coach and help you guys through it. Again, as a reminder, this is where we're going to start for most of our workouts, okay? It's very appropriate for early cycle training. It's simple, so that's where we're going to start. As the semester goes, as we move on to the next workout example, we may do some things called load drops, which is basically a classic top set plus back offs. Again, it's a little bit more complicated, but we're going to use it maybe towards the end of September going into October. So it's something we need to be aware of, okay? Going back to the front squat workout, I now have, since we're going a little heavier, I'm going to give you 3 warm-up sets. We're working up to 1 set of 10 at 55%. Again, we're using our back squat max. The target is an RPE 8, and then we take 7% off that. So I'm not worried about RPEs anymore. We're just taking some weight off for our down sets. Scenario number 1 is, again, the perfect scenario. Hit the warm-ups. I hit my target RPE, which in this case is 235. I hit it. We're right on an RPE 8. I take my 7% off, and I finish it. We're good. Okay? Again, to review, hit the target RPE, drop as instructed, hit the down sets. That's the perfect scenario. Scenario number 2, again, is an undershoot. I hit my warm-ups. My first attempt at the top set actually felt like an RPE 7, lower. So again, when we're moving up, reminder, moving up an RPE means we're moving up 5%. Again, in this case, it is about 10 pounds, could be 15. It doesn't have to be super precise and exact. There's a little margin for error in all this stuff. So in my situation, I added 10 pounds, felt like an RPE 8. We're good to go. I take 7% off of that 245, and I do 1 down set. Again, we're never going to do more work sets than are prescribed. We're just going to try to put the right weight on the bar in those work sets. So again, to review, we undershoot, you add 5%. Set number 2 felt like the target. So then we drop, and this is a typo, we drop 7% as instructed for the final down set. Now, scenario number 3 is a little trickier, but it more than likely will happen. But I want you guys to be aware of it again. We hit all of our warm-ups. Then you have your top set. And again, it's 235 because that's the 55%. But it felt like an RPE 9. And this may happen when you're tired, you have a bad day, you pull an all-nighter, you have a fight with your boyfriend or girlfriend. Things happen, okay? And you will have these days where you just underperform, all right? And again, it's not about what you expected to do or what you want to do. It's about being honest about how you're feeling that day. So we overshot it. It feels like an RPE 9. So for my down sets, I just need to add an extra 5% to the already 7%. So instead of going down 7, we go down 12, and then we hit our down sets. And again, guys, early through this process, I'm going to be coaching you. I'm going to be helping you. I'm going to be on the floor. So don't feel like you have to figure this out on your own right away. You will get better at this. The last example I'm going to give you is a rep drop. Now, this is something we're going to be doing later in October, November. A little more complicated. It's also a little more intense and demanding. Again, I'm going to do 3 warm-up sets because it's slightly heavier. And then we're going to do a rep out. We're going to do as many reps as possible with 55% of our back squat max. And again, this is a front squat. The target is an RPE 8. So since we're doing a rep out, I want you to keep doing reps until it feels like an RPE 8. So you keep doing reps until it feels like you only have 2 reps left in the tank, and then you would stop. Now, again, it's a rep drop, not a load drop. So we'll do 2 more down sets where we're decreasing the reps. In this workout, I'm doing a 2-rep drop. So in scenario number 1, that's the perfect one. You hit your warm-ups, you hit your top set, and you keep repping it out. And once you get to 11, that felt like the RPE 8. So now you stop, you hit your down sets as planned, reducing the reps by 2, and then you're good to go. Number 2, again, is our overshooting situation. Now, again, it's not about weight, it's about you stopping early. So you stopped at an RPE 7 when you should have maybe kept doing 1 more rep. Not a big deal. In this situation, we just want to only drop by 1 rep for the down sets. Again, for an overshoot, you pushed it 1 rep too hard, so we'll just take 1 more rep off and do 3. For this type of workout, I'm probably going to require you to have me watch the set. So I'm going to watch everybody's set and help them through this. This one's a little trickier. You may need somebody to tell you when to stop. But again, it's something we're going to do. I want you to be aware of it. So that's pretty much what I'm going to share with you guys today. This is an ongoing process. Again, I think it's going to help us in a lot of ways. Again, we're not completely getting rid of percentages. This is just to help us, again, put the right weight on the bar, lift it for the correct amount of reps. If after you watch this video, you have any questions or you want to talk to me about anything, I'm happy to help. Again, this is to enhance what we're doing. It's not to make it more complicated or more difficult. But again, for our program and the types of athletes that we have, I think it's really going to kind of help nudge us in the right direction, which is to help us become to help us continue to be a championship level program. Because again, we got to get stronger, but we also have to stay healthy. Nobody's scoring points for us if they're injured and they can't compete at a conference championship. So this is going to help us get stronger while staying healthier, and that's my goal. And anyways, I look forward to seeing you guys next week, and we'll keep learning about this as we continue to work hard and get stronger. Go Rams.